guys, welcome to another episode of You're Creeping Me Out. Today we have a mini episode, a minisode if you will, that I recorded with my sister as she tells us some of her creepy stories that she has encountered. Enjoy! So I am with my sister tonight and she's staying with me for a couple days. And I conned her into
recording an
episode. But yeah, so I just we had talked before that you had a couple stories.
Kinda, yeah.
So which one do you want to start with? Which one do you? I'm kind of curious to know about the ones from Grandma and Grandpa's because I've talked about that upstairs where you currently live on the podcast. I don't know if you've listened to that episode or not.
She
doesn't listen to this podcast.
It's not what I said. I just told you I am working in an office right now, so
it's fine.
No, it's not fine because I want to listen to all of my podcasts to begin with. So what the hell?
Yeah, well,
but no, yeah. So I've had a couple at Grandma and Grandpa's.
She currently lives in the apartment at my grandparents',
which was Mom's old room, technically.
Old bedroom.
And bathroom, which is pink.
It is pink. I love that apartment.
Pink and blue now.
Do you feel creeped out in there ever?
No.
Yeah.
Just squirrels.
Just squirrels.
Tap on the window sometimes.
Are you sure?
I'm just joking.
Oh my god.
There's actually bees in the apartment though. But I found out they're living in inside Grandpa's wall. So that was a thing I found out.
That should be taken care of.
Yeah.
Does he know?
Yep.
Oh no.
So yeah, bees in my apartment, but that's about it.
This summer won't be nice.
Oh, so yeah, you should see all the bees I killed this past summer. But anyway.
I remember because you got stung a bunch.
Oh, that was ground bees at work. That was a bad situation. I stripped down as fast as I could because they were in my shirt. It was not fun. That's when I called Dad for help.
I would have too. I would have freaked.
I called Mom, but she didn't answer, so then I had to call Dad. And he never answers. But anyway.
No, he doesn't.
So one time I was out in the barn where we keep the horses. Well, just one horse now. Mine, Stormy. And we fill the water tank with a hose. It's a well water. You hook it up and fill it up. It's a big tank and you walk away from it. But you got to remember that it's filling with water.
I think you did tell me this story, but I want to hear it again, obviously. So
yes. And my grandma, our grandma, would always yell out to us from the barn or from the house to the barn. You know, like, come inside or can you come do this, blah, blah. Yeah, she would just
she's passed away. She's in 2020. She's recently just passed away.
Unfortunately. But she would always yell out to the barn. I mean, I've caught her a couple times when she was kind of sick or, when she was getting worse.
She would still yell out to
yeah, and I'd be like, I'm coming up, Grandma. Just give me 2 seconds. And the next thing I know, she's out in the, driveway. And I was like, what? But anyway, so she would used to yell out to us, but she has passed on. And the next thing I know, it sounds like someone's yelling out to me. And
was it your name?
Yeah, it was like, it sounded just like Grandma yelling for me. And so I look out, and there's no one there but my grandpa and me. And then I look over.
It wasn't him.
No, it wasn't a man's voice.
Okay. I'm just clarifying.
No, it was not him. And I look over, and I can hear a trickling noise, and the tank is overflowing. And then I look over, and the handle's up, and I'm like, oh, man.
Up for you.
Maddie has overfilled that thing she left it going for like an hour and a half or something like that.
I think we've all done that.
I haven't.
I feel like I've overflowed it.
I've overflowed it, but not for an hour and a half.
Oh, yeah, that's a long time.
Yeah, well, always make sure the water's off. But I also had one with her because I do the flowers. I've always done her pots, flower pots.
Patios and
Yes,
At
her
the barn.
patios, which is at the barn. Yes, but
No, I mean like you do the flowers around
no,
the
I
barn
know.
too.
I was doing her flower pots and she had already passed again, and I look over and I swear I just saw like a glimpse of her sitting in her chair at the table.
Like inside?
No,
Or
on the
out on the
patio.
patio?
Like, you know how she always sat at the end?
Yeah.
She would sit at the end with her paper or doing her nails. And I did a double take and I was like, "Oh, that was creepy."
Yeah. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if she was still there. That was her favorite place on earth.
Well, it's my favorite place
It's
too.
mine too.
That's for sure.
Yeah, definitely.
If I ever die and
Well,
pass on, I
you
want
will die one day.
to. No,
Not
I
to be a
won't.
downer, but actually, you never know.
Become immortal.
Yeah, you could. But you never know. In 20 years, they could have a pill that you can take that, you will never die.
Well, if they do, I don't know if I'd take it, but
Yeah, I
depends on the circumstance.
You might.
Do I come back as like if I can never die? Like, how do I?
Yeah. I don't know how that would work.
Am I just always like old or young? When do I take this pill?
Yeah, that's a good point.
But anyway.
Anything else that you've noticed at Grandma and Grandpa's?
When I clean there, sometimes I feel like somebody's calling out to me. Like I just like hear my name. But sometimes like I don't know, I feel like I get glimpses of things, but I don't know what they're just like shadows.
Yeah.
That's about it.
I don't know if I've ever
Nothing's never moved or anything like that.
It's not like a bad vibe or anything like that. I think somebody's calling you.
It's just 13T over here.
I don't think that I have ever had it. It's nothing like scary, but when I've already told a couple of stories on the podcast, so I won't tell them again, but you'll just have to listen to them. But
Calling me out again.
I have always felt kind of a weird vibe upstairs. And it's not like bad, but I don't know. It's just a weird.
I never get like somebody's watching me or anything. I don't get that kind of thing. But
No. Yeah, it's
I've had like
just a lot of history in that house. Maybe that's what it is. Like a lot of our family, it's our
for sure.
family.
But
house.
like I mean, obviously grandma did pass away there.
She did, yeah.
And I feel like sometimes like every time I go there I talk to her. Call me crazy, but I do talk to her.
That's not crazy.
But I mean, I don't know.
I think it's sweet. I mean, it's totally her to be calling out to you. Like, hey, your water's overflowing. It's totally something she would do. Like she was,
She always kept me on my toes.
On earth, for sure.
She always had the best advice.
Yeah, she did. So at your boyfriend's house, he lives in an old farmhouse, right?
Very old.
Do you know when it was built or anything like that?
That I do not know. But I know his grandfather has owned all that property over there for a very long time. And it was
How many acres is it, do you know?
This is when you need to get him on here. He can tell you all that information.
You can call him back.
You want me to?
Maybe he's got some ghost stories.
Oh man, he's probably driving or something. It's very old. I don't even know where to start. It's creepy as hell.
Do you get a creepy vibe when you're there alone? Because you stay there alone sometimes, right?
Uh-huh. I was in the kitchen one time sitting there with Mr. T, which is Bubba, and he's a beagle.
What's his real name?
Okay, it's a long story. Brett didn't know what to name him, so he called him Mister. And then somehow Bubba, like they would call him Bubba, and that got involved. But his very good friend, Marnie, that they've been friends since they were kids, she was like, why don't you just name him Mr. T after your dad? Because they would call his dad, who is Mr. T.
Okay.
I mean, that's his paint shop's name. It's Mr. T's Custom Painting.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, that's what they would call him.
Okay.
So they named him Mr. T. He's a very oversized beagle.
Yes.
He's on a diet.
Aren't we all?
But no, him and I were sitting there. Brett's out of town working, and we came in, and I swear I shut the door and locked it. And the next thing I knew, it was like opening by itself. Like it opened.
The door?
Yes. Like it was very creepy.
Ew.
I looked at Bubba.
Just a little bit, or like
no, like it opened.
Like somebody opened.
Yes. And I looked at Bubba because he was looking. I looked at him. He looked at me and looked back at the door, and I was like,
"That's what I always say when your dog sees it. That's how you know it's real."
Well, this is what I was like. I was like, "All right, hello, whoever just came in, like, welcome." I don't know.
Maybe it's the actual Mr. T. Like, who the hell is in my house?
So that's what I always say even if the hangout area is called the Coyote blind. So when that door kind of creeps open. It sounded
like you said coyote.
Coyote blind, because they shoot a lot of coyotes out of it.
Yeah, animal abuse. Sorry.
No, Maria, it's not animal. Animal.
Animal.
Did you see the kid who almost just got carried off by a coyote in California?
I think it's really funny how you say coyote.
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 Coyote. It's a coyote.
No, I didn't. But
Brett's getting his mounted, by the way.
God dang it! So mean.
It's not mean, Maria.
I am like
they
super
kill children.
I am a super non.
Maria, what if you just said, would you let your child out here with?
No, I wouldn't.
Coyotes running loose.
No, because we don't have. I mean, have
coyotes. Well, go to California and there are dogs in the neighborhood.
We'll never live in California.
Well, either way.
Anyway, where were we?
Kill coyotes.
They're pro hunter. I am not.
Well, when you need some food when the world goes to shit, just come hang out with me.
I'll just come over to the coyote blind and eat coyote for dinner.
No, we're not gonna be killing that. We'll be killing deer and turkey.
Okay,
I'll let you do the
killing. Well, what were we talking about?
The haunted house.
I know, but you were
Trombley.
Oh, okay. So I said.
So there's 2 other people that live in this house, and they both have crazy stories as well.
They do?
Mm-hmm. Sid tells me some stuff sometimes. She's like, it sounded like my cat was trying to knock something over, but then it was like furniture moving. It was like a.
So she lives in the apartment.
She lives in the downstairs apartment, and Parker lives in the upstairs with the attic, and he sees some.
He sees stuff.
Stuff moves on him, and it doesn't.
How does?
I don't know.
Live there?
I don't know.
How do any of you stay there? Here's my question. So, like, do you think? Are any of these noises or weird things? Can you hear the apartments? The people in the apartments? Like, can you tell the difference between?
I can't hear Parker at all, but he's above Sid's. But the way the house is set up, so Brett has like 3 bedrooms, so he has most of the house, and then they have 1 bedroom and a living area.
Do they have kitchen, or do you guys share a kitchen?
Nope, they all have their own kitchen. They all have their own. Yep, and like heating, like they're all alone. Separate. Yeah, everything's theirs. But the basement is very creepy because it's partially Michigan basement.
So those of you not in Michigan, a Michigan basement is just stone and dirt, and it is creepy AF.
And 2 parts of it, it's like Michigan, normal. So the middle is normal.
Like, is it a finished basement? Or
no.
Is it like just a?
It's just
cement?
Well, okay. So you lived in an apartment before, right? And they have where you can go downstairs and store your stuff. storage.
Are you talking about like a complex or a house?
A complex, right? Because you have in a apartment complex, you have an area where it's like you have your own key cage thing, and
I
you
did
store.
in one apartment complex, yeah.
Yes, so his house has that. He has 3 cages
okay.
in the basement,
Gotcha.
and
That's creepy sounding.
it is
3
very
cages in
creepy.
the basement.
It is very creepy. I don't like going down there unless there's all the lights on.
Reason would you need to go down there? Is the laundry down there?
No, it used to be, but it's not anymore.
Okay. All right, so back to the.
One time I will say this.
We
digress. Brett was in bed sleeping, and I had gotten out of bed to go get water, and I heard him talking, and I was like, "Who are you talking to?" And he's like, "It felt like 2 people just got in bed with me," and I was like, "What?" I went over there. I was like, "What did I just hear you say that?"
Did I hear you correctly?
Like, what? So he said when I got out of bed to go get water, because I'm always very thirsty at night. He started mumbling, and he said it felt like 2 people had got into bed with him. He has a king size bed like you, right? You have a king?
Yeah.
Yeah, so he was laying in there, and it said it felt like 2 people, like, you know how that pressure when someone gets in bed?
My dog.
Creepy.
Yeah, that's never happened to me, but I hear that happens a lot.
I have crazy dreams in his house.
Yeah.
Where it literally felt like somebody was in bed with me, and I like got up and I'm looking around and I was like,
so
where's the dog?
That sage stick that I made you with sage, my garden sage, and my lemon balm.
Am I gonna make him angry?
No.
If it's Mr. T, that's fine, but
here's the thing. Here's what you need to do.
If it's somebody else.
If it scares you, you need to just, this is what I've always heard and been from like, just whatever, is you just talk out loud and say, hey, I obviously don't like own this house. This is not my house.
You were here before me.
You might have been here before me, but you're kind of scaring me. You can stay here, but if you can just maybe leave me alone, that would be great. Or, just don't scare me.
Yeah.
Then that can kind of like,
Agreed. And I will say this, because how you said earlier about dogs knowing, or animals in general.
Seeing it, yeah.
Christmas Eve morning, I was making veggies for dinner, for our Christmas dinner. And every now and again, Bubba would go over and look at the door, the same door that opened by itself, and just bark and bark and bark and bark. And I was like, what is going on, Mr. T? Like, who?
He doesn't normally do that then?
No, never, ever. And it's only, Brett was like, he does this around holidays. And I was like, what?
That's kind of random.
He's like, yeah, well, people coming in and out. And I was like, that's not what I really wanted to hear.
I bet you it's, like, I obviously don't know, but I do know that obviously Brett's dad and grandpa passed on, right?
Yeah.
Which I knew. So I bet you, because it could be them.
It could be, only because he owned that area from, I think, Moorish all the way to, I don't know what that other road is. Seymour, maybe?
Yeah.
He owned that whole block and then
Really?
just sold it off and then let people live there, and they paid rent, like.
Oh, like those houses.
But all his family also lived on that whole stretch.
Really?
Uh-huh. His cousin Louie lived down the road. I
didn't know that.
Grandma and grandpa lived down the road.
So he just took over the house when they died then? He got the house when his dad died?
Yes. He already had a shop.
Did he live there before?
He was helping out with his dad, and his shop is obviously there.
Yeah.
So he was working out of the shop, and so he took it over.
But when I lived on Corona Road in that house, like, I never had anything creepy happen to me there, but it was an old, like, that house that I lived in. Remember that old little tiny house?
That I helped paint.
Oh yeah. I always felt like I was being watched, but it was not creepy. It was just like a vibe that I got from that, because the house was literally as big as my thumb. It was the smallest house
It's
I've
very
ever
tiny.
lived in.
You know what? It reminds me of
But
like a garage that got, or like a old barn little thing that got like redone
yeah, well,
almost.
it was a so it was probably just an like whoever lived there didn't have children, because it was 1 bedroom house and it was tiny.
It was small.
Yeah. But what I was gonna say is that house was picked up into a tornado and like ripped away, and then they rebuilt it in like the 30s or 40s. So that house has been there a long time, but the first house on that property was ripped off like by a tornado, and um the house next to it, so like they shared a driveway, was our landlord grew up in that house, and like the house that I stayed in, I think was her grandparents' house or something. I don't know. But I never got a creepy vibe from it. But our neighbors always talked about their house being super haunted. And I had never stepped foot in that house, but it was creepy for sure. Just like looking in the when you look in the windows at a house, you are afraid you're gonna like see a face. That's how I felt about that house. But um I always just felt like there was somebody else there. It never was bad. I honestly didn't live there long enough to like experience anything, but um aside from that, almost burning it down because he set a box. Remember that when he set a box on the stove and
No.
he accidentally turned the box on, like the stove on,
No.
and he came upstairs and it was on fire.
Or, hey, I almost started mom and dad's house on fire, so it happens.
Jesus. Anyway, any other stories?
I don't know. I feel like I just see shadows a lot. I
Out of the
don't
corner of
sometimes.
your eye?
Or like I think I see something and then I do a double take. Like I don't. There's very specific things that I do remember, but it's never like
Yeah.
like I can't ever see somebody.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I do want to say Brett found a dead body on the Flint River.
Like by his house?
No, it was a little further.
What was
Where did
he
he
doing?
say it?
Fishing?
He was fishing on the river and he found a dead body and he
That's
called the
Flint, so
police.
that's when was that?
When he was in his 20s.
Oh my gosh.
Sid's mom was pregnant for
I'm opening my Truly, so it's gonna.
her. Yeah, he found a dead body on the Flint River.
Oh my gosh.
And I was like,
I mean,
how did that happen? He was like, I just saw a foot
honestly,
and I called them and then they wanted to make me like be a suspect and you're like, I'm sitting here with my pregnant girlfriend and you want to make me a suspect when this body I just called you because
yeah.
I'm trying to do the right thing.
You want me to like tell you yes or I found a body or no?
They were trying to hold him for like being suspicious and I was like, well, that's really weird. But
Well,
yeah,
it's
isn't
Flint,
that?
so.
I mean, can you imagine just
No.
fishing and then coming upon a dead
But
body?
it doesn't surprise me because there are always bodies being found in the Flint River in Flint.
True. Where we fish at up north, one of his friends was murdered.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Why? What happened?
Domestic.
It's really sad.
Yeah. But it was. I was like, wait, you have so many stories.
I know he does. Does he have stories like about
The farm,
Yeah.
for sure.
like does he believe in that stuff?
Yeah, I mean, he says to me, he's always like, well, they come and they go. You just gotta accept it. And I'm like, I get that, but something's creepy. You know what I mean? I don't know.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like sometimes I hear, oh, the other day I was vacuuming and I turned the vacuum off and I'm like, hey, did you just call my name? He's like, what? What'd you say? And I walk up the stairs. I'm like, did you just call my name? He's like, no, I haven't said a word. And
You always hear your name being called.
I know, I clearly heard someone saying, Annie. Like they were trying to get my attention because I was vacuuming. It was weird. It's like, why is someone always trying to contact me, like screaming at me?
Pay attention. I was gonna say too, like vacuuming for some reason, I always get creeped out if I'm home alone vacuuming. I think it's because I just can't hear anything.
Could be.
And I just don't
or
like that.
Do you ever get
feeling.
whispers?
No, I don't. Vegetables are done. Good timing. I don't really ever hear whispers. But
I hear whispers at my work, and it's over 100-year-old farm.
Maybe. Oh yeah, that is another really old.
I feel like I see this. I see like things like run by my eye, and I'm like, I look over, and I'm like,
because the house on that property is old, right? That's right next door.
Never. I've only lived on the I've only worked on the property.
On the property.
Yeah. But Kayla might have some stories. Kayla used to live. She grew up there. She
don't know her very well.
That's all right, but I could ask her. But I know I just hear weird. Like I feel like I don't know. Weird things happen there sometimes.
It sounds like you have. So I hear things too sometimes, but I feel like you might have that clairaudient, which means you can hear spirits most of the time.
What about vivid dreams? Does that play into it?
Yeah.
Because I have very life-like dreams
I feel
sometimes.
like Hannah, our sister Hannah, and I always have really vivid dreams.
I don't always,
but
just
you
sometimes.
Don't normally have
but I have them
dreams.
more at Brett's house. That's what I was gonna say earlier. I was like,
creepy.
The more I sleep there, the more my dreams are like intense and like they're real, and I feel it's weird. But I don't know. His house has a lot of energy.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds like it.
A lot. Sure. But yeah, I'll have to get some more stories from him.
I'm gonna try to get Dad to record his
Dogman,
Michigan Dogman story.
Oh yeah.
He actually has a few ghost stories. He saw that ghost in that apartment that he lived in, Papa's apartment.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that. So you lived there too, didn't you, for 2 seconds?
I was a tiny baby, yeah. Yeah, I want to get like next time I'm home, I'm gonna just record it on my phone or something, and just have him tell the story because
that's a good idea.
I want to hear it. I mean, I've heard it 7,000 times, but I want him to tell it.
Brett can tell a really good story, but hold on to your pants because it'll be a minute. He's very animated and intense, which is fun.
I still haven't.
I know, you got to.
Them, but
anyway, well,
yeah.
Thanks for having me on. I was probably not the best guest because I'm,
I've been meaning to record. The holidays have...
I'm spacey.
No, it's fine. The holidays took over my life. Between Christmas, New Year, and Emma's birthday, I just thought I would have more time to record, and Jessica's been really busy at work, and so we just haven't had time to do an episode, so this was perfect. And then, but yeah, thank you for telling the stories, and
thanks for having me. I'm sure I'll bring on some more for you.
Yeah, we'll have to get Brett to tell us some stuff.
Yes, we will.
Okay, well, thank you very much.
Good night.
Thank you for listening to this week's Minisode with my sister Annie and I. Like I mentioned, the holidays were a bit busier than expected, and we are trying to get back in our groove still, but we will be coming out with a new episode soon, and we are still looking for some more listener stories. If you have one, please send them in to us. You can send them to ycmopod@gmail.com, or you can DM us on Twitter or Instagram at ycmopod, and let us know if there are topics you want us to cover or if you just want to chat about creepy stuff. I am also interested in having some more guests as well, so if you or anyone you know want to be on the podcast, let us know. Thanks, everyone. See you soon.